Now here at America Trends, we talk about what you're talking about on your social media. Our producers spend hours each day not reading the old fake news headlines. You are our incredible reporters, so I want to get right back to it. John McCain recently diagnosed with a brain tumor, as you know, and we see other prominent figures in America like former Vice President Beau Biden, son of former Vice President Beau Biden, who, as you know, died of brain cancer. But it's not just politicians. It happens to people across the country, and some studies have shown a link between brain cancer and cell phone use. So I wondered, when I saw what had happened with John McCain, if it could have anything to do with that. So I called in the expert here with me now to discuss California Brain Tumor Association and We Are the Evidence, bioinitiative.org, Kevin Modis. Kevin, the John McCain, is it any coincidence? Is there any way it's coincidence that the scar he has is like right here, and this is all happening right here, and that happens to be right where you put a cell phone?
Yeah, just like you said, Gina, the scar is right down his face, exactly where you would hold your cell phone. And you need to understand, he had a glioblastoma. And while the wireless industry says there's no increase in brain tumors, so there's no problem with cell phones, the reality is there's a significant increase in glioblastomas. Unfortunately, they're very, very deadly. So whether curing some sorts of brain cancer, they can come up with these statistics that say there's no increase in brain cancer, when you're saying there has been a dramatic increase in the one specifically related to cell phone radiation. Yeah, and the glioblastomas have been related to cell phone use by a scientist and medical doctor, Leonard Hardell, and people can go to his blog, Hardell blog, and he's one of the leading scientists, has a group that has been doing research for a long time and has significantly shown a relationship between cell phone use and these GBMs, or glioblastomas. The other thing is the wireless industry says there hasn't been any increase in brain tumors, and for the overall head, there hasn't been an increase. But in the three areas of the brain that get the most cell phone radiation, okay, your frontal lobe, your temporal lobe, and your cerebellum, the increase is significant in a study that was done by USC all the way up for the 15 years before 2006. Now, that's up to 2006. Now, think about how much people have been using wireless since 2006. Yeah, and your Bluetooth doesn't change this, right? No, it doesn't, because it still transmits to the cell phone. As much? Not as much, but you still have a transmitter in your ear. And as one technician said, why don't you explain to him, your ear is a hole in your head, and those microwaves go right into your head. So I don't really like to talk on my phone, and the reason is because I get a headache when I talk on my phone. And people get really frustrated with me that I almost refuse to talk on my cell phone. Unless it's an emergency with one of my children, I pretty much don't do it. And if I do it, I will use the speaker function. Am I safe? Well, you're not safe, and you're a great example of neurological effects from wireless radiation. The same kind of neurological effects, the FCC, don't exist. And this is the big problem. The FCC regulates wireless radiation human exposure levels. And the fact is, the FCC has no one qualified to assess safety for us. Yet they're saying it's safe, and they've set a standard that's too high. It's a thermal standard. Thermal and above. If it doesn't heat you or burn you, it doesn't hurt you. And as you know, your phone doesn't heat or burn you, but yet you still have biological effects. People are getting neurological effects. People are getting cancer from wireless radiation. People are getting immune system problems, and fertility is affected, basically affecting all systems of the body. And people just go to that website you talked about, bioinitiative.org. This looks at 3,600 studies and breaks it down by different sections of the body and shows you there's definitely evidence that wireless radiation is very, very harmful and should be minimized rather than maximized, which the FCC is doing in concert with the wireless industry and their lobby group, CTIA. But it's actually scarier than that, because even if you're not using a cell phone at all, they're putting towers up all over the country without your permission. You used to have to sign something, and you saw those little green tree-looking things that were cell towers, you know, and if they were going to put them within a certain radius of your house, you had to sign off of them. Not the case anymore. Tell us. Yeah, so there's a new wireless technology, 5G. So right now we're at a lower frequency, like 1 to 3 gigahertz. This is now 24 to 90 gigahertz. Just to put that in perspective, 90 gigahertz is 90 billion electromagnetic waves per second hitting and going through your cells every second. That is far from natural. Your heart has a circuit, has electricity to it. Your brain has electricity to it. It's about 8 to 10 hertz. This is billions of times more than what's natural. And 5G is being forced on us. In California, SB 649 is going to make it so they can put one of these transmitters in front of your house. And 5G doesn't travel very well because it's very dense. And so they have to put a transmitter about every 2 to 10 homes. And they're not going to ask you about it. They're just going to put it in front of you, exempt from any health, safety, or environmental review.
On streetlights. On
streetlights, on poles in front of your house, on any kind of fixture that can get what they want. And it's not going to be your choice. There's not going to be any consent. And I got to tell you, it's not a very Republican thing to do. It's not a very American thing to do. And these bills are stripping away your constitutional rights to protect yourself and your families. But this goes way back. The 1996 Telecommunications Act that was passed in 1996 by Bill Clinton had Section 704 that banned by law looking at health and safety when they put cell towers in. This is how they built out the whole network. They've known about health effects for decades.
This is Orwellian.
Absolutely. It's a concerted, concentrated effort to hide wireless radiation health effects. And it's absolutely time it stops. 5G is we're looking at a worst case scenario. High frequency, high intensity wireless in front of your home in close proximity continuously. What's interesting is the Army, and people should look this up. Look up the active denial system. The active denial system. The military is using these frequencies at 95 gigahertz. And remember, they're talking about 24 to 90 gigahertz for this as a biological weapon for crowd control. So on the one hand, the FCC is saying it's completely harmless. On the other hand, the military is using it as a biological weapon. Somebody's lying. And what's interesting for your audience to look at is their own insurance policy. Look at your homeowner's insurance. Look in the back under general exclusions. You'll see asbestos isn't covered by insurance. Earthquakes aren't covered by insurance. Fires aren't covered by some insurance. And then you'll see electromagnetic radiation or electromagnetic waves, the kind of emitted from wireless technology. So the industry, the insurance industry that is given the mandate to assess risk has assessed it as a high-risk agent and says they won't cover biological effects from wireless radiation, yet they're putting the exact same thing near your home, next to your head, in your schools, and it's absolutely wrong, and it's time we do something. The industry is now pushing it with Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and he's now said, I'm going to speed up the siting of these small cell transmitters. He's met with AT&T and Verizon and all those. AT&T invested $16 million in lobbying last year. We don't have the kind of resources to get a meeting. One of the reasons I came to meet with you was to say to you, please help me get a meeting with President Trump. I believe he has the guts and the courage, and he cares enough about the average person to say no to these transmitters and say yes to making this technology safer.
If we can get the word out to him.
If we could meet with him.
Yeah. Well, you have taken this so seriously that you've literally dedicated your life to this. This is your life's work. But aside from meeting with the president, which of course has to be a goal if we're going to change policy, I know you've also met with many legislators. How can we, the average citizen, be the most effective? Because honestly, the information is overwhelming.
Okay. So half the states now have these bills called the Wireless Telecommunications Facilities Act, designed on a state level to strip your rights away and put these little cell transmitters in front of your house. By the way, they're not so little. They can be as large as a refrigerator with a power source included. People need to get politically active. It's time to get off the couch. It's time to take a stand. It's time to
start at the local level?
No, state and federal level,
State and
the
federal.
FCC, and frankly, the reason you sounded ambitious to ask for Donald Trump's, at this point, we're so far down the road. People are getting so sick from this right now, and really across the country getting sick from this, that we really need to do something like talk to the president about what's happening.
You got to go there, bioinitiative.org. We are the evidence.org. Thank you so much for being with us. Back in a moment.